Hello, everyone. So I hope you're having fun with Apex this week. Do you like it? Great, great. I see some nodding heads, so I take that. Yeah, so great to hear. Yeah, I like it too. Basically, I'm quite passionate about it. So I've been working with Apex from 2008, 2009. So really a long time ago. Not full time. So an application here and there. But it made me change my career path. So I went from being basically a project manager to an Apex consultant because of my passion for this technology. So yeah, I'm also happy today to share some of my experience with you. So today I'm talking mostly in the name of the company RRC. It's a Slovenian company that has more than 40 employees and is using different technologies. So from Microsoft, Oracle, Java, so really a wide spectrum of technologies, but also Oracle Apex. The IT company has clients focused more in the public sector. So I will share the most of my experience today is basically from the public, so for projects in the public sector, which were pretty interesting. So yeah, let me share my screen for starters. So yeah, I'm here on the Apex website. Here is a nice page that talks about what are the, let's say, what are the use cases where Apex is the tool you want to go for. So yeah, basically there are a lot different ones, but one I want to talk about today are opportunistic apps. So what are opportunistic apps? These are apps that are probably desired yesterday, need really quickly to develop, and in most cases the business requirements are not clear, or we want to find out what we want on the way we go. So Apex is, of course, a perfect fit for that, because first of all, it's a low-code platform, which makes it possible to develop applications faster by using wizards. So you can get to working prototype basically in a couple of hours, not in days like in some other frameworks. And that also changes a little bit the project methodology, how you do projects, IT projects, because usually, especially when working for the public sector, the requirements need to be really specified, because you need to offer a offer a quote on a public tender. Each requirement needs to be written down really in detail, and that of course takes time, to prepare all those requirements. With Apex, you can go another way, basically more in the prototyping way, which means that you sit down with the client, talk with them, and you can provide some prototypes, some mockups, develop them in a couple of hours, or maybe even on the meeting itself. So the client can immediately, you can help the client to shape the requirements by prototyping the solution. I think my friend Aleš on Tuesday already told you about the famous story with Larry and Trump and the COVID application. So yeah, COVID was a perfect example for Apex, because there was a need for applications immediately. And not only in America, and also in Slovenia, applications started to be developed in the Apex at the start of the COVID crisis, like we say in Slovenia, like mushrooms after the rain. I don't know how is your contrast, but a lot of applications were developed, and one was also developed here in Slovenia for the Ministry of Education to organize a remote education. So there was a need to develop a tool or an application where all the schools would enter information, what are their capacities, what equipment they have, which equipment do the students have, are they able to, do they have computers for remote schooling? So all this needed to be registered by all the schools, which are elementary schools and kindergartens, around on the whole national level. So I was contacted, I think on Friday evening at 10 o'clock by my friend at the Ministry of Education. He explained the situation. They needed something fast. Yes, of course, my suggestion was let's use APEX for that. And I think on next Tuesday, we had the first version of the application on the production environment, so schools could already enter the first data. Of course, the application was then later upgraded and stabilized, but the important thing is, so it was Friday. Okay, I started doing the work during the weekend, and then on Monday and on Tuesday, I was able to deliver the first version. It was not a big application, but we could make an immediate response to an immediate business requirement because, as you all know, it was really crucial to react fast in those times. So yeah, that was of course a success story and a beautiful example of how APEX can be used. Another opportunistic app was when we were building for the same ministry the National Wide Register for Higher Education. So we will be building a system to where all the universities from Slovenia, all the study programs were stored in a unified register, and also all students, so that it can be a student status can be then followed nationwide. So this was not developed with APEX, but because of requirements, it was developed with another tool, and the time to develop it was quite long. But in the meantime, it was all the data before this system was in different spreadsheets, in documents, and the migration of this data needed to start before the application was developed. So we developed in APEX a user interface where the users could then enter this data and do the manual migration of data. It was not possible to automate it because there were different sources to pre-fill the database even before the real application was then later developed. So APEX helped with the manual migration because it was, again, a user interface was developed in a couple of days and not in a couple of months like the original application was developed. So another case like that. But this also brings, at the same time, APEX shines, but let me say some bad marketing happens at the same time, because people then say, okay, it's a low-code application. Yes, it uses some wizards, but they don't take it then serious as a framework to build really big and enterprise solutions. So the most common myths that I hear around, that it's not secure enough, that it will not be fast enough, that it will not support a high number of concurrent users. So, but this is of course not true. So APEX, besides being a low-code platform, it's living in the Oracle database, which is a powerful tool itself. It's the most powerful database itself. So it takes advantages, as you could already see when during this week, during all the features from the Oracle database. And it's a web application framework where you can use all the modern web programming language like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So basically the options are endless. So not only the stuff that's out of the box, you can customize the applications, let's say, limitless. There's requirement. Another bit that I got is it's secure because it's a low code. Yes, it's even more secure because the security mechanisms are already built in. So you must deliberately code it bad to offer some security leaks or issues. So you get the best practices already there. So yeah, that's something I wanted to point out. So yeah, besides opportunistic apps, we built also some other applications for the public sector. One of the interesting ones was an application for the Ministry of Justice. More specifically, it was for the Slovenian prisons. It was an application to manage payments of prisoners. So I didn't know that prisoners can employ themselves in the prison. So, but yeah, of course they can work as cleaners, cooks, and they get paid for it. So we developed a system where the back office users then entered how much was the prisoner available, how many days consecutive did he come to the job, because that's not always the case with prisoners, and because of that he got a higher salary. So yeah, we developed a system to manage and calculate salaries for prisoners. So it was an interesting job, and then also an interesting road trip when we went to see the application live at the end users. For the Ministry of Education, yeah, we also built some human resource management applications. So this is, I have some screenshots here for an application where promotions were managed for public teachers. But one that most stayed in my mind, and the project was also for this called EVC, the EVS, the National Register for Higher Education, because there was also a data warehouse built on top of it and integrated with external registers. So we integrated it with the register of the register of unemployment, and also the register of the insurance, so we could get the information where a student was employed or unemployed after he graduated. And by that, a system was made that we could track what is the employability rate by student higher education study programs, universities, study fields, demographic data. So really, really interesting results. And again, the first idea was not Apex, it was a BI tool from Oracle, but it was functionality-wise, it was okay. But it was not really user-friendly for end users. So it was really hard for, let's say, not advanced users to get some data out of it, because they would need to make they need some experience in working with BI tools. But we built an Apex applications for that, which had a more nice modern user interface to get some data out of that data warehouse. So for example, let me a little bit enlarge my screen so you could see it. The users could enter a various array of different parameters, so either years of when the different years of graduation, universities, faculties, programs, study fields, and of course demographic data, and then get some reports. For example, what was the top, who were the top employers for those parameters you gave. So for example, you could search for the faculty for organizational sciences, which was the top employer for them, or which fields were they employed in, and how many of the students were then also registered in the registration of unemployment. I don't know what's the exact name, but I hope you get my point. So how long are there, and how long are then they registered in those evidences? So is it just a couple of months until they get their first employment, or is it really a long time situation? So and also we tracked by a month after the graduation, what is happening with those students. So here we see, for example, all the students in Slovenia that or some other that graduated in these following years, what happened to them after 6 months. And we can see how many of them were employed, how many of them were unemployed, how many of them were advancing to another education program, maybe higher. And for some of them, we don't have the information because either they are left the country or they're not found in any evidence that we are tracking. So yeah, and with Apex we could do a really nice interface readable by also simple user. By simple I mean users that are not experienced with analytical tools. And of course it was meant for the the universities and themselves so they can see their data, and so you can use this data to change their change their programs or enhance them, modernize them based on the needs from the market itself. I will conclude with another example that's not for the public sector, but one thing I really love about Apex is that, and a strong point is that everything is in the Oracle database itself. So all the parameters so all the definitions, all the properties that you set up when you were developing your applications, it's somewhere there in the database. So you can easily query all the settings that you set up. So you could basically query, for example, okay, show me all the buttons and how are they defined in my applications. And why is this so important for me? Because then I can make some automation tests to ensure higher quality and consistency throughout my applications. So we built a tool that reads this data, where you can define some rules. For example, all my delete buttons needs to be red. They need to have a trash icon left side, and they need to be positioned in the upper right corner. And I want this to consistent throughout my application. Simple. All the buttons are in the database. I can just write a query, which buttons do not comply with these requirements I made, and I get immediately the results where I have these inconsistencies, and I can enhance then my applications. So this is a really really important for me and for the projects we are making, because with this we can really ensure really high quality. And for example, I talked about security in the beginning. So of course you can always offer some security leaks, but I can find them. I exactly know if you switch some setting off that can offer a potential security threat, I can immediately find it through all of my applications at once and check this and really ensure that there are no security issues and making my application really tight, so no unauthorized access can be made or some other attacks. So yeah, this was a quick sprint to some of my insights and some of the projects that I was working for. But I'm happy to answer some questions if you have them, or maybe some other details. So currently, I don't hear you.
Hello.
Oh yeah, now I hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we saw that from your presentation, you have different cases in your career, and of course you have also good connections with bad people. What I wanted to ask you, how do you approach different organizational cultures in the companies? For example, you had the public administration, you have business clients and so on. How, as a consultant, do you adapt, and what skills are more important than others in that environment?
So maybe when I was in the beginning of this presentation, I talked about the project methodology which I can use. So in the private sector, something it's more easier to use agile project methodologies. So, you know, this prototyping, which is I talked before. So there's a need, and we can immediately sit down and start building it, prototyping, and usually by experience the solutions are also then developed faster because of we have our hands free and you can use those modern project methodologies with Apex because it's a perfect fit. This is not always the case in the public sector because of course some steps needs to be followed, but yeah, it's also changing. So also here, as I said, some success stories were following those methodologies was that we also finished the applications in a couple of days and delivered it. So yeah, skills which are needed, yeah, basically everywhere. React fast and be able to demonstrate fast, and that's how you use the benefits of Apex a lot.
Okay, my colleague Monica will also have some questions for you. I think it's regarding of switching your career
Yes.
to Apex.
Hello, my name is Monika. I'm from Kozminski University, Warsaw, Poland, and I've just made some changes, and I've changed my questions, not to be so to ask some new questions. So my first question is about your recommendation to our students. Our students are usually doing BA programs, and they are very junior when it comes to life maturity, and they also they want to be developers in the future. So what is your recommendation when a young person enters the workforce, the job market?
So, yeah, interesting question. So maybe if I okay, I will focus now on Apex because this is the discussion today. So why could Apex be also a career choice? It's also to learn because Apex is basically a full stack framework. So you basically you develop you develop the database, so you prepare the data model, but you're also able to develop then the front interface, and then by that learning also web technology, web languages like CSS, JavaScript. So you can get a really broad perspective about application development itself, which maybe is not in the case if you start with something else because you're maybe focused only in the web development or just only the database like I was when I started. But here Apex offers you really a chance to learn the whole process and not just technology, you know, just also the process of developing these applications, talking with your customer and client. So yeah, it's a really interesting opportunity, and you don't need that many skills to start, but with learning it you can get a lot of skills then later, and of course even if then later you don't choose Apex as like I I did for my only framework that I use, you can, you know, use these experiences and this knowledge also elsewhere with different other technologies, of course. But yeah, also I think currently a lot of job opportunities are there, so it's also a path that I think can help you also get some opportunities already in the start of your career.
Okay, thank you. The next question is about empowering young female professionals, because one of the objectives of this better employability with Apex project is to empower new groups of potential talents. So let's imagine a student who is a fresh graduate from management, so no IT background, and she's trying to a step into the world of industry and the APEX. Do you think that APEX can be one of the options, or?
Yes, yeah, I do think yes. It reminds me also a little bit of my history, because I'm graduating from this school that from Faculty of Organization and Sciences. So I was not a developer in the first place. So I focus more on the business field. So yeah, APEX was empowering me to do something that I couldn't do before. So build applications without having that much experience in development like maybe my colleagues did. So really, yeah, it made me feel empowered. So yes, we call it also citizen developer. So it's a term in APEX. So by having really some basic knowledge about programming language, maybe just some basic SQL, you can really do great stuff with it.
Okay, and almost the last question. From my experience, the students nowadays are really impatient. Like they want to have everything, like in the Instagram. In 15 minutes, they want to learn new skills. So how do you deal? Do you have also this experience, and how to teach other people APEX, especially when they are very impatient?
Yeah, APEX answers, the need for the people that are impatient, because you can deliver fast, quickly. But that doesn't really means that it's what you quickly developed is also higher quality. So again, this is especially the myth that I was talking about. Yeah, it's a low-code platform, and if you do things, you can do things quickly, but you always need to follow some guidelines, developing guidelines, to prove really that your solutions are then all higher quality, higher secure, performant. So yeah, we always teach we have let's say a boot camp, really a course like probably you had this week. So to bring the technology to new people, but then we need to step back and go again to the basics. So basics of data development, good practices of web application development. If you really want to then work as an IT service, of course, because that is when there's always a limit where you can go by yourself without having a development knowledge. So you can build something that solves those requirements, but then later new requirements can come in, maybe for more complex way of authenticating, and then you need somebody experienced developer, and of course you need some more knowledge. So yeah, you also need to be patient with APEX in the end of the day if you want to be really a good developer in the end, because you need to go also in depth for really.
And also the last question is about recommendation for my students, because I always tell them that it's good to work hard, but it's also good to celebrate. So what is your secret sauce for celebration? If you have the project completed, what is the way you celebrate your success?
The celebration itself, for me, it's already a celebration when I see the feedback from my customers. With APEX, you can a lot of times get that wow effect, right? Then I had this experience a couple of times, and this is this is my private celebration, because you see that you bring something that solves their problems in a fast and an interesting and a modern and a good way. And so yeah, of course, my team, and then we go celebrate if there's a successful project, like all the everybody out there. But I want to really emphasize that we get something already from doing those projects, and getting the feedback from our customers is really fulfilling, satisfying, and that's why I'm also passionate about this framework, because of this And that's why I also want to bring it more out to the world, because yeah, all of this feedback and this, wow, really, Apex can do that.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Aleš, it's really nice to see a successful graduate of our school that progressed in his or her career so good. And thank you very much for sharing your thoughts. Good luck in your career, and thank you.
And thank you for having me, and enjoy your stay in Slovenia.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Goodbye.